Oh, no, no, no. We are not done just yet. We're just getting this week warmed up. We've got one more day left. One more day left this week. One more day left this month. Boy, what a day. What a day. Another great day comes to an end. It's about that time of day again, though, isn't it? Time to get back to work. Friday is right around the corner. It's Thursday evening. It's the 28th day of April, 2022. Last day of the month coming tomorrow. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, if you're watching for the first time tonight, it is great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us fund the best trades, setting up for Friday. Not just any Friday, though. End of the week, end of the month, earnings Friday. We got a pretty big day coming right around the corner tomorrow. Great to have you back here with us. I have a great video in store for you guys tonight. A ton of great trades setting up here for tomorrow. Got some really nice big moves this afternoon, but can these buyers hold it? What do you think? Can the buyers hold these highs above those ranges? We'll see. I got some great trades tonight. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you have a game plan to make some money on Friday. Before we jump in, though, and get this party going tonight, I just want to make sure to remind you, you better subscribe to our YouTube channel. I publish all my best trade ideas every evening on this YouTube video. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video, so make sure you subscribe, set those notifications. A lot of this stuff is very time sensitive, so hit that little bell icon. Make sure you get notified every time we publish something new. Also, any questions here tonight? I do personally answer all the questions you guys post here, so don't be afraid to drop a question in the comments section. Don't be shy asking questions. And if you enjoy the video as much as I enjoy making it, do me a favor, hit that like button for me. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, being here all week, here final week of the month. Thank you so much tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Hit that like button. Thanks for supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro, huh? Let's get this thing going. Let's get ready for finally Friday trading session. End of the week, end of the month. Where are we headed for tomorrow? Boy, like I said, we had some pretty impressive moves here kind of into the close here today. Nice strong bold move up on the S&P. Nice strong bold move up on the Nasdaq. Pretty impressive move higher here into the close on the crude oil. We kind of saw this stuff coming. You know, if you watched last night's video, we anticipated a bull rally here today. But now here's the question, right? Here's the $1,000 question. Here's the steak dinner Friday night, right, for you and the missus or the friends, right? Here's that question. Can they hold this? Because we talked about these levels last night. 24 hours ago, we talked about 4,300. We talked about 13,550. We talked about 105. Can they hold this, right? Can the buyers, can they blow through these areas? I definitely have a game plan for some breakouts. And of course, can the sellers get their hooks in this thing and take us all the way back where we came from? All that hard work the buyers did. Can the sellers take advantage of it? I've got some great reversal setups here, some great shorts, and I got some great breakout setups we're tracking here for tomorrow. Again, I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video. That way you know where the easy money, the big money, the steak dinner money is going to be here for tomorrow. Now, speaking of tomorrow, let's not, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself right now. Tomorrow, again, is a Friday. It's not your average Friday. It is an end of the month Friday. Now, we've been kind of talking about this all week this week. As we go into the end of the month, we do expect increased volatility. We've definitely seen that these last couple days. We also know as we go into the end of the week, you know, the end of the week does tend to also kick up in volatility. We'll take a look at last week's closing prices. Those are going to be magnets for tomorrow as well. What's the most important thing for tomorrow, though? We got a big news report tomorrow. We have the personal income number tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern time. That is an inflation number. Now, it's a Friday, so usually things on Friday are a little bit muted. You know, the volume is always a little bit lower on a Friday. But I'll tell you, though, we might be surprised tomorrow how much action we get off that 8:30 news. And the reason I say that is because this is the last inflation number, the personal income and outlays, the personal income and the ECI number right there at 8:30. This is the last inflation report that the FOMC can get their hands on before the announcement next week. So if there's any question about whether or not they're going to raise rates by 0.5% or a full 1%, I think a lot of us are kind of hoping for just rip the Band-Aid off and go a full 1% hike next week. Next week is the FOMC announcement. This is the last chance that they have to see some more inflation data before they have to make the decision next week on how much they raise rates. I don't think there's any question question about whether or not they're going to raise rates. So I would imagine a lot of traders will be paying attention to that, thinking that this might be a very important number the Fed may use to kind of pivot on whether it's a 0.5%, 0.75%, or maybe the granddaddy, right? The big 1% rate hike, which I think we're hoping for tomorrow. That is definitely something we are watching. I wouldn't expect that any of the rest of this news to be a very big deal tomorrow. I wouldn't worry about that. Also, too, keep in mind, too, we've got some earnings tomorrow morning, energy company earnings. Tomorrow morning, before the open, we've got Chevron, we've got ExxonMobil, some of the big names in the energy world. As you can imagine, that could easily apply to the oil futures. So oil is definitely on our radar for some earnings plays tomorrow, coming off the Chevron and ExxonMobil. Speaking of earnings, right? We heard from Amazon today. We heard from Facebook. We heard, today was Tech Thursday, so a lot of reaction from this afternoon's earnings reports that'll be coming out. Apple, right, reported today as well. So I'm expecting a pretty active day tomorrow. I'm very curious how the market will respond to that personal income number at 8:30. So definitely keep that on your radar. All right, that's the most important information on the news schedule for tomorrow. And remember, Fridays do tend to be a little bit slower at times than other days of the week. Just remember that trading is a lot like riding a bicycle, right? It's much easier when it's moving. If it's going slowly as you get later in the day on a Friday, that's a good sign to cash your chips in and go get that steak dinner we keep talking about here tonight. All right, back to our charts though. S&P, Nasdaq, crude oil. Now remember, I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in this video, whether you trade one of these markets or you trade all three of these markets like we do in our trade room. We actually trade gold too in our trade room. I'm going to cover my favorite trades on each of these charts. You'll learn something new throughout the entire video. I'll provide different variations of setups, different advanced tactics as we go deeper into this video. And you know how we roll. I do try to wrap it all together and save the best stuff for the end of these videos. So I'll give you a reason to stick around all the way to the end, right? So don't exit off here too quickly. I'm gonna make it worth your while to watch all the way to the end. Let's jump into the S&P first, though, and let's get this party started. What's the most important factor right now on the E-mini? The most important factor on the E-mini is really one of the most important factors on pretty much all of these charts here for tonight. We have a very strong run not into the close, but a very strong run. And anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we know we have to respect that momentum. We know there's a good chance we're going to try to retest that high and potentially make a move higher. That is a very important part of this. Now, you could also argue that, well, that was a very strong move higher, but you can see pretty clearly here where we are. We're sitting right at that major top. And again, this is a very familiar area. We've talked about this quite a bit last night on the video. Another key component to this is that this is major resistance up overhead. Now, major resistance isn't a big deal unless you put it in context with this massive range down here. You can see range here, range here, range here. Kind of blend these all together, and there really is kind of one big magnet down in that 4220, 4210 area. I've got that 4210 area marked up for that range here, that magnet down below. So most important takeaway on this chart is we have a very strong move higher, which again tells us that we really should respect the market's momentum, expect a retest of that high. From there, do we come back down into that trading range, or do we break higher? Because in all reality, the S&P has quite a bit of leg room as we go higher up here. There's actually plenty of space up there for a breakout. So what do the buyers want to do? What do the sellers want to do? The buyers have, although they have all this momentum, they really don't have many options right now. I was kind of disappointed. They kind of stole my thunder here on this video. I was hoping we could talk about this little two-try trap. I was going to say that would be a great short, but they, as you can see, they kind of picked my pocket on that going into the opening bell. That was kind of a disappointment there. But all kidding aside, though, Buyers, right? Buyers have to see a breakout, right? I mean, you can't really buy at this point now. We already see, the bears have come in and they've already shown their cards. They're playing cards up right now. We already know what they're doing. So we can't really buy into this just yet. There are going to be some scenarios, though, tonight where we can buy. Like on oil. I think oil is still good for a buy with the right situation. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the buyers would love to see a nice big breakout. They'd love to buy a breakout. I'm not a big fan of buying right now. The sellers really have all the options. They have all the options right now. For example, the bears would love a double top reversal. The bears would love to get short on the way back down into this trading range. So again, I think the buyers probably have a little bit of the edge right now because of the strength of that move, but that's about all they have. That's about all they have. They got their objective, and now we're kind of trying to find a way kind of sell this thing off the high here. So let's talk about this as we go up, as we go down. Really kind of what you want to look at right now is can we go back up into this high, take out that high and short off that high, or can we get that drop going lower here? So let's talk about this. The trade that I really hope we get, if there is a trading god up there, if he or she is listening down on me right now, please, I hope we get a retest of that high. I hope then I get a chance to basically trap in the buyers. Let them try once, let them try twice, and try to run their stops, right? All their stops will be sitting right there. Remember, this makes perfect sense. It's a very strong move higher, so we expect them to retest the high. Major resistance, range magnet below. Not a good spot to be buying up here. Why would you buy up there? Those are the weekends buying up there. So hopefully we get the buyers to try a couple times. Okay, we'll use their stop losses as basically fuel, and we can then sell in the stops with what I call a 2-try failure. The key is 2 tries because you're going against momentum. Now remember, your job is not done yet at this point. At this point, as the market now rolls lower, this is where the fun actually starts here. Now, we know where the market wants to go. Now we can mark up a channel off the low, mark up draw a trend line off the low, combine that off the high to find a channel, and then repeat after me. First test is the best test. I always try to grab that first test off of that channel. Now, my favorite entry is a trap. As you can see, I've kind of illustrated a little trap spot right there. I love traps. I love buyer failure setups. I love pullback combinations. Maybe the strength move as we go lower. Now, I know that most of you guys and gals have already learned these setups, right? You've taken the free trading course on our website. You've learned the setups. You know the rules. You know when to take them, how to find them, most importantly, when to skip them. But I'll tell you though, if you're watching for the first time right now, if you haven't taken the free class yet and learned all of the traps, the failures, the pullback combos, you're gonna love this free course. It'll give you a full roadmap. I'll put a little pop-up there for you in the upper right-hand corner. If you're like me and you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're taking too many losses and killing your account, or you're making too many mental mistakes, that little pop-up that will take you to our website for our free trading class. Learn the setups in that free trading course. You'll learn the entire roadmap. That way you'll know what the setups look like, the rules to apply, where to look for them, when to take them, when to skip them. You can apply that stuff to your own trading, start making some money on your own, and be ready for trading with us someday in the trade room. You're going to love that free course. Definitely grab that. I've got so many emails over the past few weeks about people who have done so well with that free class. So grab that course, learn the setups. That way, the next time I say a double top, 2-try failure into first test is the best test, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, that's one way to sell off the high here. As we go lower, this is kind of where the fun kind of begins here. Now, each one of these markets has a little bit different scenario. So what you're going to see on this one will be a little bit different on oil. Like oil stands out. Oil's a pretty big difference between the NASDAQ and the S&P. So here's a couple of things you want to think about. One would be a 1, 2, 3 reversal. Let's say, for example, this thing spikes down or pops lower here. Okay, this is what we call a 1, 2, 3 move. A 1, 2, 3 move creates enough momentum for the bears that when we get that first pullback, off the high of those channels, it's almost a guaranteed winner. Now, when I say pullback, remember what I'm talking about here is, and you're going to learn these inside that free trading course, a lot of times these 1, 2, 3 moves going down, a lot of times these channel tests are traps, right above a prior swing. A lot of times they're going to be a bounce above the moving average, which creates a failure, okay? So just be aware of that. I'm not going to go over all the small details of the entries, but if I can get a 1, 2, 3 move going lower, I'm going to mark up that low, mark up that high. Again, range is the magnet, and then I'm looking for that first test off the high of that channel. And I say first test, right? Could be a trap, could be a failure, could be a pullback combination. Another one I would keep my eyes open for would be a pop and grind. So we kind of pop down, we start to grind down. Love these, right? I mean, how much do we love these in our trade room? Grab that trend line off that low, bring it right up around these big highs, and then look left. Find some of those prior swings, get above some of those prior swings. Again, I love traps above prior swings. Trap, failure, pullback combo as we go. Targets, of course, back down into that trading range. Here's one more you want to think about too. Let's say, for example, this thing just collapses, right? Easy come, easy go. This thing just takes off the downside. At this point now, I got to be careful. Why? Because we have this big trend line coming up underneath. This trend line, of course, is a multi-day trend line. So you have to assume it's probably going to bounce, but it's probably not going to be the end of the road. I'd be very surprised if this resulted in a big reversal. I wouldn't be that surprised because it happened, similar today. But again, got a bunch of ranges down here. They took out this high. Just be aware, that trend line right there, that trend line is going to be a bounce area most likely. So the point I want to make on this is as if the market does kind of collapse here and run lower, think about that bounce going higher. And what I was going to do is as we get that bounce, look for these buyers to come in and try to buy it, right? And then look to sell into those stop losses. Does that make sense? Right? So if it really takes off the downside, anticipate that bounce, get above the moving average. And remember, what's going to happen is the buyers will go like this, right? It'll bounce, the buyers will try, and you can sell into it as it goes back down again. That same idea will be over here. So if we do end up really shooting lower, right? I'm not going to go like this. I'm not going to grab that channel and sell into that trend line here. What I'll do is I'll anticipate the channel, but I'll more importantly anticipate that strong bounce back up. That will get us above the moving average, trapping those buyers who are trying to buy that first pullback. It's not a bull market at that point. The odds are not very good that trade succeeds. I would rather take the other side of that trade. Right? If the buyers want to buy that, I'll be waiting right there to sell right into their exits. I'll gladly take their exits when they get stopped out. Make sense? So we're trying to go back down into that trading range. Those are a couple ways that we can sell this thing as we're going lower. I have a few more options we'll cover here on the NASDAQ in a moment. How do we buy this market? What's the way we buy it? Again, I don't think there's not many options here right now to be a buyer right now. A lot of this is because we've already kind of seen, again, the bears kind of already came in and showed their cards here. I'll talk about a pullback entry in the crude oil. So you better stick around for that because that'll be worth learning here tonight as well. The most important thing about the S&P is there's a lot of space overhead. I can't say this to the NASDAQ. So if I had to guess between which market was more likely to go higher tomorrow, I would say probably the S&P. Again, with a lot going on, end of the month, earnings season right now. So, nothing's obviously guaranteed. A lot can happen overnight. But as far as open space goes, there's a lot of meat on the bone up here for those buyers. What can we do to buy a breakout? We need to go through this area. We got to get up, take out those highs. The buyers have to hold it, and they have to show us they mean business. And if they show us that jump off the moving average, that's exactly one of those 1, 2, 3 moves. We talk a lot about 1, 2, 3 moves in our trade room. Anytime we see a 1, 2, 3 move off the moving average, that momentum, what it does is it greases the wheel. It makes the odds of success on that first pullback extremely high. Now, as always, I need to drill down, find the right entry pattern. It could be a trap. It could be a failure. We don't just blindly buy it, right? We look for a setup around those lows, trap, failure, pullback combination. And we have a pretty good idea of where the market wants to go to get that 4360 area up overhead. I would also imagine a pop and a grind would work too, right? Pop and grind. A grind is a giveaway for a short squeeze. That's basically what it is, right? That's why they grind like that in most cases. Try to trump the high, find that low. And again, when you have all of that momentum, remember, it's almost a guarantee we're going to get that pull back and at least retest that high. Now, what do you think? Once we get the retest off that high, could I short that thing? Oh, yeah, you can, baby. At this point now, what do? You want the buyers to try twice. Try once, try twice. Think about now where their stops are. Sell into stops. This is the same thing we talked about, right? Same thing. So we look for this stuff all the time in the trade room, right? We'll look for those nice strong breakouts, grab that first pullback. Again, I say pullback, pullback, trap, failure setup, whatever, right? We grab the first pullback off the low, take some profit off at the high, and then if they struggle, if they can't break through that high, and the buyers are trying once, they're trying twice, they're digging their own grave up there, their stops are just waiting to get lit up like a Christmas tree as it drops back down. And then once it drops back down, that first pullback is money, baby. That's a great, great first pullback trade. And as you can imagine, this could easily end up dropping back down to that last week's close. So kind of keep that on your radar as we go as well. Well, as you can see here right now, as we open up here, we're gapping down. They must have saw my script before I recorded the video. Keep your eyes though now on when it gaps down like this, keep your eyes on that snap back up, and we'll keep looking for that short off that high. Or if it rolls back up and rolls over again, keep looking for those shorts off the high of that channel. It's still pretty early here. Let's keep going though. Let's keep going. How about some Nasdaq here? Oh my goodness, Nasdaq falling out of bed here right now in real time, making me squirm here on the video. Well, let's adjust these here for us. This channel is obviously getting blown out here. They're going to make my job a little more difficult here right now, aren't they? What's the most important factor right now on the Nasdaq? Nasdaq spikes higher, right? Anytime we see a strong spike in one direction, don't mind that little guy right there. We should, right? We expect a retest of that high. So buyers, of course, they had my attention until right about now. All kidding aside, though, same thing as the S&P. We run ourselves right into a major area of resistance, right? We have our range below. We were very bullish there for a moment, running into major resistance with a big, look at the ranges, range, big magnet right back down around that 13,100. So the big question right now is can they hold it? That's always kind of the big question that we have here right now. So we've talked about quite a few of these scenarios here so far, right? Haven't we? If I had it my way, we would climb all the way back up, retest those highs. We'd be able to grab one of those, let those buyers try once, let those buyers try twice, wait for those stops to get exposed, and then sell in the stops, grab that new channel off that low, right? Mark the low, find the channel off the high, and then look for that short off the high. We've talked about this quite a few times here already. It's a two-try failure off major resistance into that first test is the best test. As you can also see here too now, if I kind of zoom in a bit closer, there now probably is a channel on here. That channel is probably a little bit too steep. So what you want to think about now is as the market, of course, goes lower here, we may have to wait for that bounce back up, right? Because as I mentioned on the S&P, I was looking for this market to kind of roll over into a grinder, find that channel, and then look for that, right? Look for that short, that trap, that failure off of that high. That was one setup we're watching for there as well. It looks like this might not give us an option here for a 1, 2, 3 breakdown, just because it's going to be so darn steep. What we might be able to do here, though, is is get above that moving average on the pullback. So if I draw a channel off of this low, bring it up around that high, okay, this will work. This will work. Moving average comes down, right? We've got that 1, 2, 3 reversal here. Let's get up, kind of fill that gap, if you will, trap in some of those buyers. Remember, all of that momentum is going to want to retest that low, right? This is that 1, 2, 3 moves I was talking about. Trap in those, right? Trap in those buyers and hit them right where it hurts. 1, 2, 3, move lower. Find that channel off the lows, bring it up around that high, and we're selling for another leg going back down into that trading range. I also think, obviously, what is also likely here, if the market was to end up dribbling kind of down into this area here, is to wait for that larger pop-up, maybe get a chance to use some of these prior lows as key resistance. Like I said before, on the S&P, it drops out of the sky. We have this trend line coming in, same idea as the S&P. Trend line coming in off of those lows. We see sellers take profit off the trend line. Buyers will hopefully foolishly try to buy that first pullback. And of course, we're hoping we can use those stop losses as fuel to go back and retest that low. So kind of a pop and a pullback, right? The way that I always think about it is if I have a market that is reversing with a 1, 2, 3, right? I can always grab that new channel and I can get pretty aggressive at selling off the high of that channel because I know we're relatively early in this trend. But if the market takes off and really dumps like that, now we have to assume that there's going to be some profit taking down here. And so the farther it goes, basically, the more likely it is to really pinch back higher. That's where you want to start thinking about, okay, let's wait to get well above the moving average, get those buyers to come in and try to force things back higher. Remember, all of that momentum tells us they're going to want to retest that low. So once those buyers come in and try, we got them right where they want. They're locked in. They're trapped now, right? If this trade fails, it's just a matter of gravity now, dragging it back down to retest the low. That's why I always say, if it goes really far, you want it to go. You want these moves to be strong, but if it gets a little too strong, though, it creates it overheats the downside, overheats back to the upside. Everybody takes profit. Buyers buy into it. It pops up, and you can grab that kind of pop and pull back, if you will, off of that low. That's definitely something to keep in mind on that as well. A couple more things here, too. Let's say on the NASDAQ, this will also, of course, apply to the S&P 500. Let's say, for example, we end up back down into this trading range, right? Could easily happen. We end up, we get the pullback, we get our shorts, we get down to this area, and we start going sideways down here. How would you trade a bear market into a trading range? What do? Well, the first thing you do is you go find levels of resistance above the range, right? Like, for example, I love using prior swings. So you find levels of resistance above that trading range. If we start going sideways here, and this could, I'm kind of guessing right now, it could be here, it could be here. I don't know where it's going to go sideways. But if it does start going sideways, and again, this will apply to the S&P as well. Okay, if we go sideways here, now look left, find some prior levels of resistance. Trend lines coming down, you know what I'm saying? Find some levels overhead, and then basically wait for it. Wait for that pop up. Let those buyers try to buy into it and sell right into those stop losses. So even if it goes sideways down there, we're still basically looking for the same, ultimately the same, basic setup there as we go lower. Just be aware of that. Again, of that trend line, coming in from there. This could be interesting. That's a huge gap down, as you can see here. So again, keep your eyes on that pop up, that failure for a retest of that low. And then as we go lower, think about that bigger potential pullback as they bounce off that trend line. How do the buyers get involved right now? The buyers, they run for cover is what they do. Boy, it's going to take quite a bit for these buyers to recover from this. I think it would make sense to see a gap like this to get, to kind of slingshot back up a little bit. But again, that still puts us right back in that short setup position as we go. As I mentioned on the S&P, the S&P really, and the crude oil, we'll see in a second. The NASDAQ, there's not a lot of open space up here. There really isn't a lot of open space up here. So, even if we do get a move back up here, it's going to be very difficult to thread that needle, because you can see right here, this is another spot where you can just imagine how many bears will be drooling over the idea of shorting into that prior swing as well, around that 13,700. So the first thing that comes to mind is if we can get this thing to move higher, pull back, and give us a relatively strong push higher here, the only entry patterns you would want to take up there would be traps, because traps are really the only setup we can rely on whenever we're worried about buying into resistance, major area of resistance. This will take some persuasion. It will. It'll take some drama here. The buyers have to take back that gap. They have to hold that pullback, and they have to really blast. And by the way, that blast can't go too far, because if it goes too far, then we can't buy that pullback anymore. Think about it. If they really blast and run up, now we find ourselves in one of those scenarios where double top, 1, 2, and back down again, right? We still find ourselves in that same spot to keep on selling. So it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act there to thread the needle there between that 13,550 and that 13,800, 13,750 area as we go. All right. So keep that in mind. And remember, think about too, this trend line. If we just kind of blow right through it and start grinding down here, where the markets want to go, right? They want to take out, oh, that's right, there's a gap down here too. How could I have forgotten on the S&P as well? So we got gaps to fill all over the place. What do you think the odds are? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? What do you think the over-under is? Probably 80%, right? We get gap fill here, gap fill there. What do you think the odds are for tomorrow? We fill both of those gaps tomorrow, right? Come back up, tap that prior week close, last week's close, and then head all the way back down. What do you think? Is it 60%? Is it 20%? 100%? I would love to hear what the collective group thinks here on this. I would say the way this thing is gapped down like that, I would say it seems like the odds are probably pretty good right now. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to know what you think about that. But again, if we do end up kind of grinding down here though, and it's obvious this thing is tied to a cinder block, same thing for the S&P. Remember, find that, right? Draw that channel, find that, or draw the trend line, draw that channel, and just wait for that first pop and sell into it. Everybody will be waiting for that first pop, really no matter where it is, right? We always talk about the first pullback after a big move down is almost always going to be sold. Sellers can't wait to get their hands on that as we go. So again, if we do see that kind of pop and grind, right? Pop and grind, wait for that first test off the high, or let's say it pulls back and blasts and run lower. They fill the gap, they blast lower, 1, 2, 3 move. Remember, if you have enough strength in one direction, if you have enough strength, it's almost a guarantee you're going to make some money off that pullback. It may not go forever. It may just retest that low. But again, there's money to make off that first test is the best test. I have a few more short setups I want to talk about here, especially on the crude oil. Because oil, of course, has a little bit different scenario. So we covered the Nasdaq, we got the S&P out of the way. Really excited about that. That gap down kind of threw a curveball into it, but that's all right. We're right on track here. We're hoping to get here out of this market tomorrow. Back on the oil here. Now remember, oil is running right into earnings tomorrow. We got ExxonMobil, we got Chevron tomorrow before the open. Check the earnings count if you want more specifics on that. But be aware of that. And again, we've got some big news tomorrow as well. What's the most important factor on the oil? Something different, maybe something different. No, same thing, right? Get a strong move up, very strong move. Anytime we see a strong move, we know there's potential for, we respect the buyers, right? We expect a retest of that high, at least. And then if they can keep going, where would the buyers want to go? The buyers want to go, boy, look at the wide open space we have here. I mean, there's a range up there. Right? Now remember, this area right here, 105, is actually a previous, see this? It's like a little reversal area, right? It's a prior low, it's a prior high. It's just a really major turning point. And again, just like the S&P and the Nasdaq, we have a huge range below us at 103, 102. So it makes perfect sense. This market's very bullish right now. But if the buyers, if they can't show up right now, if they can't put their money on the table and push this thing higher, is a good chance we're ending up right back down into that 102. And remember, as we go into the end of the week, those last week's closes become big time magnets. So it's definitely easy to see the potential here for a reversal off these highs and a big move back down into that trading range. Again, though, there's also a lot of momentum here, and there's a big range overhead. So we may get a chance to be a buyer here too. So how do we buy it? How do we sell it? Where would the easy money trades be here right now? First of all, how would you buy it? How would you buy this pullback? Well, you'll notice this is a pop and grind, right? Pop up, grind off those highs, and it fits perfectly off that low. So like I always tell you guys, mark those swings, get underneath those swings, and look for an entry setup. Now, this particular location is a concern. Momentum looks great. Okay, momentum's great. Location isn't that great. And if I want to be a buyer and I want to sort of buy as low as I can, what do you think is the best setup for me to want to buy this thing? It's going to be a trap, right? Absolutely. So I'm going to want to make sure I pull back on this. I'm going to make sure we lock up those bears. Get those bears to try once. Let them try twice. This reminds me of this setup that we talked about last night on the video. Remember how last in the video I talked about how that trend line might be in the way there? Right, from last night's video. And I said, listen, if we're trying to buy off that trend line, get those bears to try a couple times and grab a trap. Remember that from last night's video? Could I get a thumbs up from that if you guys watched that video last night? Right, maybe a hell yeah in the comment section, because this was pretty deep in the video last night, and it's pretty much not exactly what we talked about, but very similar to that from last night's video. It's that same pattern. Right? So we've got we have a support area here, but again, we're right into a very convincing area with a big juicy range below us. I would expect the bears are going to attack this as it pulls back. And because of that, I'm going to want to try to rope them in. And because we are, again, right into major resistance, the best way to do it is with a trap setup. And that means, of course, waiting for that trap below that low. Same example right there. Right? Now, you'll notice this one, right? They tried once, twice, three times. So whatever it takes, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 or 4, but that trap is what you want here. Let those bears try to force this thing going lower. And then where's my target? Back up to retest the high. And then if you have an extra contract, leave that extra runner up to that, 107.5 range up overhead. Now, maybe we don't get the pullback, right? Maybe the market continues here to keep grinding higher. If we continue to grind higher, boy, all of a sudden now this area can be used as an area of support. So if we do end up grinding higher, now that pullback, that failure into pullback combination definitely is on our radar. So if we do see this thing continue to push higher here, we can use what is resistance as support. We can wait for the pullback to the low of that channel. This channel may have to be adjusted a little bit. Just be aware of that if it does poke those highs. If it pokes to the highs, we'll adjust the channel a little bit steeper. We'll obviously talk more about that tomorrow in the trade room. But if we do end up going higher here, what is resistance now can be used as support. Rope in. Remember, it's still very bullish. Nothing's changed at that point. Still very bullish at this point now. Get underneath that moving average. Trap in those bears. Trying to get short, use those stops as fuel for a failure, and then grab that first pullback for the pullback combination. Right? We may even see a nice strength move coming off that high as well. Again, you'll learn these setups inside that free trading class that I mentioned earlier. So just be aware of that, right? It kind of grinds up as we go. I would also say too, there's plenty of space up here. So we could easily see a pop up. Remember, earnings tomorrow, right? Let's say pop up, real strong move, shallow pullback, higher high in price, traps, okay? 2-try trap or 2-try breakout. Again, strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high in price, traps, baby, right? It's too bad they missed it right there earlier today. Strong move up, shallow pullback, higher high. you know everybody wanted that entry right there, right? That's where everybody wanted that entry, right off that prior high right there. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. That's the way life goes, especially trading. You take whatever the market can give you, right? So that's going to be a beautiful 2-try trap as we go, or definitely going to be possibly a 1, 2, 3, right? Break higher, mark that new channel, drill down to your faster time frames. You'll learn those in the video class. And of course, right, grab that trap, failure, pullback combo, or a pop and grind, right? Maybe it pops up and grinds into a new channel. I don't know, pops and grinds, new channel, find that new swing underneath, trap, failure, pullback combo. Where do we think the market wants to go on these, by the way? Remember, an easy way to think about any breakouts or any trends is the first leg and the third leg are usually pretty accurate, right? First leg and third leg are usually pretty symmetrical. So it pops up and grinds, or if we see like a 1, 2, 3 move, we find that channel, grab that first pullback. Okay, the size of that first leg is usually the size of that third leg. The middle leg is oftentimes a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So don't let that middle leg confuse you on that, right? So keep an eye on that as we go higher. And what do you think? What do you think the odds are that we could get this thing to go, right? Maybe pop up. We see a pullback, retest that high, double top reversal, 1, 2, you got it. Remember, always keep an eye on this scenario. Okay, remember, if we see a real strong move, okay, we'll buy that pullback. Okay, because again, anytime you see a strong move, the odds are pretty good they're going to retest that high. But then you take your profit off of the high, the rookies come in, they churn it up, right? They wrap that noose around their neck. Their stops are just waiting to be gasoline. Nope, well, okay, pun intended on that one, right? Gasoline or fuel as we go lower here. And of course, we grab that first pullback as we go. Okay, really, really love that little turn off those highs there. There's some great money to make on that. As we go lower, this is where I think there's a lot more options here on the crude oil. You'll notice how I kind of drew this channel out. The giveaway is right there. These little tiny wicks up there. Okay, one thing you're going to learn about in our video classes here at School of Trade is we pay a lot of attention to small details. That's why all my lines are very, very thin. They're very thin lines because I want to be able to see all these small details. We go for a couple ticks profit sometimes. And so a couple ticks here and there is a big deal. It is. Now's a good time for you to get comfortable with the idea of paying attention to small stuff. I'm a very big believer that how you do the little things are usually how you also do the big things. And so we really pay attention to those really small details. Anyways, why does this matter to you? Well, because imagine now if this market was to roll down something like this. This is a great example of like one of those channels, right? We anchor off one of these, lines up great off the high. Now, if we can get this into pop down like this, right? We draw the channel off those lows. Now imagine now, right? We pop up, might not be a good trap, too high for a trap, but a fantastic spot here for a pop, a pullback, and a failure going back down again, right? So as we start to go lower, don't get sucked into trading down here. Think about, okay, can I connect some of these lows here? How about up here? Remember too, the people who sold off this high, they're going to take their profit around next levels of support. Makes sense, right? That's why I said in the S&P and the Nasdaq, if the market collapses down to those trend lines, expect that little pop, because again, there will be people taking profit here. So if it bounces off that support level, find that hidden channel. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Find that hidden channel. Wait for those buyers to foolishly try. Remember, at this point now, it isn't a bull market anymore, right? At this point now, we've collapsed off the moving average like the S&P and Nasdaq are doing. Once the buyers jump off the moving average, they have control. Once the sellers jump off the moving average, they have control. So once those bears jump lower and then start to grind down, it's a bear market now. Let those buyers walk right into that mess, and we can sell right into those stops. And you know where this one wants to go. It wants to go right back to last week's close, because on a Friday, if there's one number we know is an easy, juicy target, it's last week's close. Absolutely. And you can see we've been hanging out there for the past 48 hours. So keep your eyes on that. I also think too, because there really isn't, again, the S&P and Nasdaq have these big trend lines down here. So if the market collapses on the E-minis, you kind of got to wait for that bounce, to be safe on that. The oil doesn't have that problem. Oil has a trend line, but it's way down here, and that trend line ain't going to mean anything, right? That'll mean nothing for these bears, right? When it's that bearish. So the point I want to make on this is, if the market takes off the downside here, and we're seeing this thing cruise right through that 103 support level, strong move down, shallow pullback, lower low in price, that's a trap you want to take. That's a great trap right there. Again, that's the same two-try trap or two-try breakout we talked about earlier going higher. Okay, remember, the key is strong move sets the tone. The shallow pullback drives everybody crazy because you can't get in. There's no, the pullback traders can't get in on it. And the lower low confirms it's not just a V bottom. Make sense? That's why the lower low is important. The lower low is really important because it basically proves to us this is not just a V bottom going to bounce and we can sell back down again. That lower low means everybody wants that short coming down. If that's the trade you take some profit off of that low and leave a runner for sure, right? That 100 big round number seems to be a pretty easy, juicy target there as we go. We talked about the buy side, right? We did that already. We talked about the short side here as well. Okay, we're looking pretty good. Right? So again, a lot of this stuff is going to overlap, right? If we get that pullback, that retest off that high, right? 1, 2, grab that failure, grab that new channel. Again, I hate to be a broken record here right now, but welcome to trading. Trading is the same thing over and over and over again. As we always tell our students, trading is a little bit boring at times because I'm waiting. You say no a lot. But the good thing about trading is if you do your job correctly, it's only to take you a couple hours, right? Then the rest of your day, the rest of your week to get as much fun as you want, right? If you want excitement, right, in gambling, go to Vegas, go to Atlantic City, right? We want methodical. I want consistent. Surprises are for birthday parties. I want consistency in my trading. So repetition, same thing over and over again. Now, speaking of same thing over and over again, we'll come back tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time in our trade room. We got a good game plan now. We planned our trades. Tomorrow we trade our plan. I hope I'll see you there tomorrow in the trade room. Again, if you hate missing the best trades each day, or you're taking too many losses, or you're making mental mistakes, or maybe you're just like me and you want somebody, you want some sort of game plan to follow each day, our trade room is designed for new traders who are trying to learn and trade along. Our trade room obviously is great for advanced traders who know a lot about the markets but haven't quite been able to put all the pieces together yet. Believe me, it's easy. There's a bunch of crap online. You can easily waste 5, 6, 7, 8 years trying to kind of sort all that stuff out. It took me a while before I found a mentor and kind of got myself on the right track as well. So looking for a great place to learn and trade along and get yourself on the right track. And I'll say too, and have some fun together too. We have a lot of fun together. We got a great group in our trade room. A lot of the guys and gals in the trade room with me for a very, very long time. So you'll love the trade room. You'll love the video classes. I'll put all of the membership links, all the free course links. I'll drop those right below this video in the description. Don't be afraid to call the office. I know I do talk pretty fast on this video, but I'm actually a pretty chill person in real life. YouTube kind of makes me make these videos as short as possible. So don't be afraid to call the office. We can slow things down, make sure you have all the pieces that you need put together, computer, brokerage, all the charts set up, right? And that way you're ready for trading with us in the trade room. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. So grab that free course, learn the strategy basics, or pull the trigger, get registered, and I'll see you in the trade room. 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll trade some oil, some gold, some S&P, some Nasdaq. It's been a great week so far. One more day left here next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you're watching this video right now, you are the person I do this video for. I'm proud of you. I commend you for dedication and appreciate everything you do for this channel. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. But get out of here, will ya? Turn off the YouTube. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Get some sleep. Get some sleep. Stay hydrated. Tomorrow could be a pretty busy day in the end of the month. All right, all kidding aside, though, have a great rest of your day out there. If we don't see you tomorrow in the trade room, we'll see you next time on next week's newsletter. My name is Joseph. Be well. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.